Sorry, guy here. I caught up with the fucking craziest fucking fuckers I fucking know.
That's you. You're crazy. I'm fucker. Today we're crazy fuckers. Crazy.
Ryan Jameson and Showtime Scot's members. Seattle, Celtics, Boston, Washington.
Two best teams. Yeah. Two best teams. Football, basketball. Bosworth, McBride.
What got y'all started in wrestling? I don't care who answers first.
Well, you started before me.
Right.
All right. I originally was in pro boxing, and I got into pro boxing. And I had a match. I had one particular match where there was a guy that I was fighting, and he was a hometown hero. And apparently, like, I don't know, everybody in the crowd liked him for whatever reason. To make a long story short, at the end of the night, I beat him. And the people in the crowd are really angry, and they're yelling shit at me, and they're throwing shit at me, and I was talking back and forth with them, and my cousin was with me, and, you know, like, shut the fuck up, and people were yelling, and we got in the back, and I was like, man, I don't know about this boxing stuff, man. I wish maybe we should think about getting into wrestling. You know, it might be a little bit more fun. So, you know, like a year or so passed, and I moved down to Texas, and wrestling is much more bigger in the South than it is in the North, where I'm originally from. So I changed my sport to wrestling, and it's kind of funny that me and this guy became such good friends, because the very first thing I did was in boxing. You know, the only way to get better is to get in the ring with somebody better than you. If you get in the ring every day with someone that's just like the same, you know, same level as you, then you're not gonna get any better. You're just gonna stay the same level. So
you gotta progress.
You know, so I took that into wrestling, and I researched who the best in Texas was, and everything kept popping up. Showtime Scot Summers. So originally, I had emailed him and said, "Hey man, you know, I heard you're the best in Texas."
I thought he was a creep.
And
I did.
Can I come train with you? Can I, you know?
Can I rub baby oil on you?
No, it's not about baby oil.
But it was weird because
I didn't even know about baby oil.
He was really respectful. It freaked me out because it was still a lot for me, because I'm so used to this shit talking in this business. And it was just, you know, all the accolades and stuff were great, but when your peers respect you, that's what you want, man. You want to respect your peers.
It was 100% genuine. I didn't know anything about the business at the time. I just, you know, everything said he was the best, so I try you. Anyways.
Guess what my score is? 246. Fucking incredible.
Bowling.
Bowling. Wii Bowling. Connect. No, not even Wii.
Connect.
Xbox Connect. 246. Anyways, he ignored me, and I got hooked up with a bunch of misfits, and went through a bunch of stuff.
I watched wrestling when I was a baby. The rumor has it that when we moved here from Boston, I was a baby, and I'd go back and forth, but I'd watch, and I'd see these guys, and they were wearing their diapers. I mean, I was wearing my diapers, I was in diapers, and, you know, I would sit there and I'd watch the TV. You see it on YouTube, the kids watching the TV and dancing, and I would watch. And I'd see these guys in their, you know, their trunks, and they'd be, and I would start headbutting shit, and I'd run in and dive off stuff. And I was 6 years old. I had my Macho Man bandana on and some glasses and like this whole getting it and this whole garb. And I jumped off the couch and tried to elbow drop this teddy bear, and I broke my elbow. And I walked out and all fucked up, and my mom's like, "What the fuck?" And I mean, I've always wanted to do it, but there was no way to do it. So I mean, that's how I got into it. Shawn Michaels out of school, and I tried to apply, and I couldn't afford it. I mean, that's what got me into wrestling. I was always a fan. I was a fan when people make fun of you if you watch wrestling. You know what I mean? They're like, "You watch that fake crap," and I was like, you know what? Fuck you, man. It's awesome and some shit. And it was kind of like, it was my release. Like, I always liked sports, but there was just something I was drawn to about wrestling. It was like they were like big comic book characters. You know.
Well, who did y'all when y'all got into wrestling, who did y'all look up to before? And who do you look up to now?
Roddy Piper.
Well, I don't know, man. My biggest thing was like, I was a huge boxing fan, but my favorite boxers would only fight once a year. So when I got into wrestling and kind of went, okay, if I can let go of all the things that people talk about and just concentrate on appreciating it for what it is, which is entertainment, you know, and watching it, then I was like, okay, well, my favorite guy fights every week, and that's awesome. You know, I'd have to say, for me, Kurt Angle.
Mine was Piper, and I saw the Free Birds, and I was amazed by Michael P.S. Hayes. Everybody went for the Ron Eriks, and I appreciated Ron Eriks, but I would see Terry Bam Bam Gordy and Buddy Jack and Michael Hayes. And I was like, oh, I gotta go for those guys. And they came out to Freebird and they came out with the paint on their face. And I was like, they're amazing. And I saw Bachwinkle and Kerry Henning. And I was always drawn into it, you know. I would get in fist fights and I would get in fights when I was young, and I would like DDT people on the pavement. I couldn't fight worth shit. And I would use wrestling moves. My mom wouldn't let me watch wrestling. She banned me from watching it for years because I would emulate the moves. So you hear about it, but I did it. That's how I fought. I literally kicked a kid in the stomach and DDT him on the fucking basketball court when I was young. And don't do that at home, by the way, kids.
Well, Steve's already done that, so.
Yeah. My favorite of all time, though, out of everybody, is Macho Man.
Macho?
Always.
I
rooted for him over Hogan.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you because as I've progressed, like, when you come up, I liked Rick Rude. Everybody liked the Ultimate Warrior. I mean,
that was my dad's favorite.
You know, I don't know. I just as I've progressed and I understand wrestling, man. Like, Dynamite Kid was so amazing. You know, the guy. It was weird because once you get into it, once you become a pro wrestler, you respect different guys. Like people you would never know it, but like Steve Lombardi, Brooke and Balla, it was those guys that made the other guys look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see these guys, you know, the muscle up guys, and it's like, I mean, it's like Hogan. People shit on Hogan, but Hogan can wrestle when he wanted to. It's just, it changes. When you get in the business, it totally changes.
I think some of the business is kind of compatible to like maybe a line in the NFL. They get absolutely no credit, and the QB takes all the, you know what I mean? It's a lot like that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's just like, you know, like in wrestling, if there's no ref, and if the ref can fuck it up, it's a big team thing. I take it as a fight, and anytime I talk about it, it's still a fight to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the fight is. The fight to be better than you, the fight to be better than me. You know, people think they understand this business so much, and we get the stigma of it being choreographed and all that shit. Well, the only people in the business, and I have people come to my shows. I have people that are MMA people come to my shows, and they go, "That is the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. You guys were knocking the shit out of each other. Yeah, you're cool. I got friends that get in cages, they pound on each other, and they see us 200+ pound guys swinging metal chairs at each other and falling onto the concrete. You know what I mean? You gotta be half crazy to get in this business and keep doing it.
Let me throw 5 names at a shot. 5 names. I'm gonna do one at a time. Y'all tell me the word.
What's that gimmick called?
Not so much. I can tell you. Larry Zbyszko.
Underrated. Genius. He doesn't know who Larry Zbyszko is.
This is not good for video.
He doesn't know who Larry Zbyszko is. I got you. He doesn't know this. It's not his fault.
No, I know who he is. I do know who he is. I just don't know a lot about him.
Just word like.
Honestly, I'm not a big history.
Doesn't know about him.
Doesn't know. Cactus Jack.
Well,
inspirational.
He's a pioneer for what he does.
The way he talks was amazing.
I think for his style of what he does, he's a pioneer.
He has more psychology than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Cemetery Funk of the shit.
I'm gonna do 5. Let's see, I did 2. Now I'm doing a new one. John Cena.
John Cena is. How would I take this? John Cena is always on this game. There'd be 60,000 people, and John Cena doesn't fuck up. John Cena doesn't botch anything. He may, I'm not saying he's perfect, nobody's perfect, but there's a reason why he's where he's at. People hate all they want. I like to see you get in front of 60,000. He's John, I had the pleasure of meeting him and hanging out with him, and I totally changed my attitude about him. I used to shit on him because people would give me a hard time. He's from West Newbury, I'm from Boston, and they would, the whole, oh, you're trying to be black, the grand gimmick he did. But John, when you meet him, he's a really good guy. And you can't hate on somebody that's a good guy in real life, you know what I mean? Like, he's very underrated. He gets the shit beat out of him. Sean beat the shit out of him at that pay-per-view, and he takes it. He's tough.
You don't get to that level and get that love without being really great at what you do. It's no different than, like somebody says, oh, George Bush is an idiot. Like, you don't become president if you're an idiot.
Well, I know.
He obviously is one of the best.
A lot of people know this, but you actually got to beat John Cena at WrestleMania.
I did. I
drank shots with John Cena.
I didn't drink shots with him, but I got to dress up like him and do WrestleMania a couple years ago in Houston.
That's awesome.
Man, just the experience of going out there and having 70,000 people and just hearing it, that was something that I can't even describe.
He's consistent. That's what I was looking for. He's consistent. He doesn't fuck up.
I got 2 more for you that passed away. Actually, I got 1 more. That's gonna be 2 more. Owen Hart and Chris Benoit.
You know, for me, Owen Hart was one of my favorites. I mean, you know, I remember as a kid being a big fan, and I always rooted for him when he had this whole feud with his brother. And, you know, I know he's a great technical wrestler, and I always enjoyed watching him work, and that was a really sad thing.
I hated Owen, so obviously he did his job, right? I wanted to punch his nugget ass in the face, but obviously he did his job. The thing with Chris was really hard for me, man, because, like, that was one of the guys I looked up to. Everybody I've ever, I said this earlier, everybody I've ever looked up to in this business has passed away. Brian Pillman passed away. I met Eddie backstage, and he looks at me in the belt there, and he looks at me and he says, "Hey man, you're too small. You're too short. You're not gonna make it." He looks at me, he winks at me, and I was like, "You motherfucker." He stands up and we're like this. So, but Chris goes hand in hand with Eddie. A lot of people say what they want. I know everybody, like, we don't know the guy personally. I can tell you he lost his best friend, and that's, you know what I mean? That's my take on that thing, and I think it's bullshit. He's erased entirely. OJ can murder a bitch. Sorry, call her that. He doesn't get erased.
And that's what I was gonna say, man. Is like I don't really care what he did in his personal life. You know what he did in wrestling. You know, shouldn't be erased. He's one of the greatest wrestlers.
It's like Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds hit home runs because Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter that ever lived. It has nothing to do with what he took.
Yeah, you know. You can't erase what he did.
Brett Favre can send pictures of his wiener to people.
Even when they try to erase what he did, they can't do it. Because people like us remember.
How much time we got?